Fear. Like the rolling mist, it can obscure your vision, leaving you blindly stumbling through the forest. I have a deathly fear of heights. This is a fear that has followed me my entire life, and sometimes I'll have this nightmare where I'm falling from the sky straight towards the zooming earth. Fear clouds our judgment and it turns us into animals. It has this effect of closing in around you. But it's my belief that it is your duty as a human being on this planet to face your fears, to look them straight in the eye and say, "You're not gonna beat me." So I'd like to share a story that I think might help. Last year, I spent a couple of weeks in Costa Rica for a project that I was shooting and directing. And it was a really cool experience. You have to understand, I had never been to a place with that level of wildness, of nature and biodiversity. I generally get excited when I'm in a place that feels very foreign. It feels like it's new. I was there to film a couple of scientists that do their work taking samples in the trees, like 100+ feet up in the air. At that height, the branches move with the wind. You literally sway in the air. And on top of it, at the altitude where I was, the clouds can just roll right in and engulf you. Now, we needed to capture a scene of the scientists doing their work up in the trees, and I was the videographer on this project. Now, I could have told the scientists to go up with my GoPro, I could have maybe shot things from above with my drone, and these were ideas that I considered. But at the end of the day, I was there to do my job, and it was my responsibility to do the best that I possibly could. Taking one of these easier options wouldn't have been doing my very best. We scouted the location the day before shooting, and I remember going back to the Airbnb and feeling sick to my stomach at the idea of what was to come. I felt physically ill. I was afraid of a lot of things growing up, but my fear of heights trumped everything. You guys don't understand. Leaning over like a balcony on the second floor of a building makes me dizzy, it makes my palms sweat. I can't go on roller coasters. I've never gone bungee jumping, and even just the thought of it puts a pit in my stomach. I remember the morning came, it was all kind of a blur, gearing up, preparing the equipment, and before I knew it, there was no more time to futz around. There's a quote by Seneca the Younger, a Roman Stoic philosopher, and it's a quote that has often helped bring me back to earth. He said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." And with that, I began my ascent. For only a few feet, I decided that I couldn't look down. I didn't want my courage to evaporate. With every little movement of the rope, adrenaline seeped into my veins. When you're in that state, your thoughts are completely irrational. I kept envisioning absurd, fatal scenarios. But you know what? They're just thoughts. I might be consumed completely in panic for the moment, but then it would pass and I would still be there, alive. I was still dangling among the trees in a forest somewhere in Central America. I had to surrender. Two things helped me avoid losing my nerve. The first was just taking things one step at a time. Just climb 1 foot at a time. I'll figure out the rest later. And the second is not stopping for too long. You don't want to lose your momentum. You don't want to let your irrational thoughts get too far along. Eventually, by some miracle, I made it to the top, and the guy that was helping guide me along had me sit on a branch way up in the air. Up to that point, I had 1 foot in a sort of like buckle that I was able to place half of my weight on as I climbed my way up. There was a moment where I swung my leg over the branch to kind of straddle it.
peso, entonces va a sentir mejor si pasa su pierna hacia el otro lado, queda como montado. Sí, para que se sienta más confiable.
However, when I straddled that branch, I had both legs dangling in the open air for the first time. Suddenly there was no air in my lungs. I grew lightheaded and I came this close to passing out.
Okay, oh my God, qué sensación.
The sensation of having absolutely nothing beneath my feet was terrifying.
Prefiero tener algo abajo del pie, me está afectando. Está afectando el banco.
But you know what's amazing? If you close your eyes and are able to shut out the world around you, you'll realize that it's all in the mind, it's all imaginary. Coming back down, I had probably the greatest sense of relief that I've ever felt. I kissed the ground when I made it finally all the way back down. And you know what? I could probably do it again. Now, I'm sure a lot of you guys don't have this problem. A lot of you don't have an issue with heights at all. And so this might seem silly, but I don't really care about that, to be honest with you. This still feels like a great accomplishment, and I'm so glad that I didn't let my fear stop me from having an amazing life experience. So yeah, thank you for watching. I hope that this video was able to give you a little bit of courage if you're afraid of something, whatever it is. I'll keep this short. You can follow my adventures on Instagram or through my newsletter, and you can support this project and get access to bonus content on my Patreon page for less than the price of San Francisco ramen. That's kind of a weird analogy, but I thought it would be a good way to sort of, I don't know. Don't let fear beat you. I'll see you soon.